Alright, hey everyone, this is Ash. Welcome back to the King's Speech. So no big introductory spiel today because I think I got most of that out yesterday when I did my read-throughs. If you haven't already noticed, I did upload a read-through for both Battle Angel Alita and Vinland Saga. Battle Angel Alita went up yesterday, Vinland Saga just went up today, but you should be able to find both of those at my channel, and I hope you enjoy. I don't know if I'll get time this weekend to do one more reaction review videos for either of those series. I'll try to do one more read through video each for those ones because I think I'm close to finishing off a volume for Alita and I've already finished off volume for Vinland, so I'll try to pick up some of those soon. Wandering Sun, I forgot about that. Wandering Sun, hopefully tomorrow I'll have a reaction review out for that. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. So, without further ado, let's get into the One Piece reaction review. I've heard a lot of rumblings on Twitter already about how great this chapter was. So let's see if it lives up to the hype. So we have chapter 954, Like a Dragon Given Wings. And we have volume 5 of Gang Besh's Oh My Family with Can't Get Past the Red Line with all the hubbub at the Reverie. Which is interesting because I'm wondering if Besh is trying to get through to Fishman Island or if he's trying to get past the Red Line itself. Because I wonder if with the Nostra Costello he might have been able to just climb over the Red Line using the tracks rather than having to go through Fishman Island, but I'm not going to get excited about anything regarding Reverie until we actually flash back to it or we find out what happens, because I'm tired of Oda trying to hype it up through cover stories and shit. I just want to see what happens. I do not want to hear about how exciting it is. I want to see it. So we have Ringo Wano. With 7 days to go until the raid on Onigashima, the samurai have acquired a huge stock of katana. And Kawamatsu's like, "No, Lady Hiyori, you cannot give away your memento of Lord Oden." And so Hiyori goes, "My father Kozuki Oden was a swordsman who wielded 2 full-size swords. On the day before his execution, he entrusted one of his swords to my brother and one to me. My brother was given Ame no Habakiri, and I was given Enma." You see these two. You see the 2 swords which look very similar. One has a black sheath and one has a white sheath. And Hiyori continues, "Both are katana of very fine make, forged by 2 famed bladesmiths of Wano." Alright, I'll get into that when I do the review bit at the end. And Kawamatsu's going, "Yes, princess, and that's why you mustn't. You cannot let some strange man from God knows where lay his hands upon Lord Oden's precious swords. I do not know how Shusui of Ryuma, god of the blade, fell into your hands, sir, but it is considered a sacred treasure in this country, and its theft was a national tragedy." So Zoro's just doing the thinking, man. He's like, "Guess it was Moria who stole it, though." And Hiyori says, "Please allow Shusui to be returned to his rightful place." Oh my god, of course. And Zoro's like, "Well, if you're going to give me a replacement, then maybe. And I did share combat with Ryuma, or at least his corpse. Alright, I'll return the sword, but you gotta let me visit his grave later." Kawamatsu's like, "His flights of fancy know no bounds. Princess, are you sure he is of sound mind?" And then you have Flower Capital. Samurai and Rosetsu have still not been released. And they're looking out from the barricades thinking, what can we do? Of course. So you see Hawkins lying bisected with Law's sword hanging over him. And Hawkins looks like he's been badly beaten up. And we saw Law last time, he's already tortured. And he goes, "What happened to your alliance? The one between you, Kid, and Apu?" So Hawkins goes, "We were tricked, betrayed. Scratchman Apu was in Kaido's employ all along. That monster Kaido said to us, "I will gladly take you if you agree to join me." He was always in search of mighty soldiers. It is how he will build his almighty army. My chances of victory in that situation were 0%. Chance of his successful escape, 0%. Chance of survival upon surrender, 40%. I did not have any other choice. But Kid and Killer were different. They stood up to him and fought until they could fight no longer. Kaido will not kill men of such strong disposition. He will attempt to break their spirit so that they obey him. Okay, so you see that Law is in the torture chamber. And that's where he bisected Hawkins. I'm curious how he managed to get out of this. Hawkins continues, "I cannot imagine Kid will ever submit. He will die. They tell the rest of his crew, do this and that or your captain dies." So this is the Tontadas 2.0, right? Where it's like, oh, we'll have your captain tied up, and if you want him to survive, you do whatever. They have become Orochi's pawns. The four emperors are different creatures from you and I. Ordinary logic does not apply to them. But your alliance with Straw Hat seems to be going well. Now that you've come happily into Wano, has your opinion changed at all? And Law is just giving him just the look again. And you see a slice as he goes, "I'm the one asking questions." You see a clank as he steps out of the prison cell. And he goes, "If letting me walk is part of your plot, then consider me a willing participant. We have 6 days until the raid on Onigashima." So you see a shadowed figure, and I'm 99.99% sure that whoever let him out of there is Drake. I'm not sure it's because if he knows that Law was the one that saved him on Swallow Island all those years ago, but Drake is 100% the one who let him out. Then we have Excavation Labor Camp Udon. That is Kaido's skin. I want you to recall your utter defeat. Recall how all of your strength amounted to nothing. We don't have time. The enemy is a monster. But you can do this. And you see Luffy just wailing on a thick piece of iron. Or steel. And all the other prisoners are noting he's pounding that steel like it's gelatin. And you see him Luffy thinking back to Kaido's angry face. As he goes, "Yeah!" And he's just yelling and just continuing to pound the steel. 5 days until the raid. Alright. I'll get to that at the end of when I do the chapter review as well. Amigasa Village Kuri, and we have Kinemon speaking. There's been an alteration of the riddle image you hold. Lord Yasue's message is to add 2 lines to the stomach of the Viper. And you have ship repair team Itachi Port Kuri. 2 lines? Got it. I understand now. Good. And then Frankie's doing his Frankie pose. He's like, "You talking to Kinemon? Tell him we're going to get these ships back in super shape." And Usopp's out there helping him with his assistants. He goes, "We got this, man." And you see weapons prep team Udon is like 2 lines. Like, oh. And then Katana retrieval team Ringo. You see, oh, very clever Lord Yasue. So you see the female Yakuza boss from the last chapter, whose name I cannot be bothered to remember, is in charge of the katana retrieval from Ringo. And you see your Yakuza rousing team Kibi, and you see that Yakuza with the little scar across his eye going, I get it. So you go back to Nami and Kinemon with Nami going, "I'm impressed all the Wano people figured it out right away. So what does it mean that the Viper has 2 extra lines? Like Wiper? This would not make sense unless you know the names of Wano's ports. The drawing of a pit viper or Habu indicates the destination of Habu Port, but 2 legs have been added on it. Each port of Wano has the name that suggests a different animal. By attaching to the legs to the viper, it becomes a lizard or Tokage. So you see around the 5 capital, the different lines. You have Neko Port, Karu Port, Mosura Port, Habu Port, Tokage Port, and Itachi Port. And he goes, and there's Tokage Port and Udon. By cleverly altering the meeting place of the plan to keep the details away from our cunning foes, Lord Yasue was able to ensure our raid continues all in one clean stroke. And you see Robin that's still holding on to a sleeping Toko, going, "This Yasue was an incredible man." And Kinemon goes, "We required the help of our savior to his dying moment. It would bring shame upon me to fail to make it count." And Kawamatsu goes, "Years ago, Lord Yasue left us with an important message. You must be the guardian deities of all of Wano. There are still problems to be conquered, but with your help, we are accumulating manpower at an ideal rate. There's still no word on Denjiro, alas, but we have 7 vassals of Kozuki gathered." You see Sanji, Robin, Raizo, Okiku, Kanjuro, Nami, Kinemon, Kawamatsu, Ashura, Dogstorm, Shinobu, and Hitetsu all sitting around in a circle in the port, or in the village. And you have Sanji going, "It's coming together well. We might actually reach our goal of 5,000 men. And Brook's like, "Yes, it's splendid." And it's Kinemon goes, "Let's quit wasting time." Oh, no, it's Ashura. And Kinemon's like, "Yes, let us begin the strategy meeting." Incidentally, there are actually 2 methods of entering the land of Wano. One is the risky method of being pulled up by a koi fish. The other is to split a waterfall and pass through caves. Naturally, there is no safe passage without the permission of Kaido and Orochi. At the end of the cave is Mogura Port. From there, a gondola will haul up the crew and cargo. So you see a drawing where there's waterfalls on both sides of Wano into a little kind of cave area. And you see on one side, you see the huge mountain. And on the other, you see Onigashima and then the entrance to the other port. On the side where Onigashima is, you see that under where the waterfall is, there's a little pathway. And then this little port straight up you can get. So it's upon reaching the top of the shaft, you will find yourself in the domain of Hakumai. And you see, hello Kaido, I've arrived in Hakumai. Kaido's like, "What's this? Even you've come back before the party?" Papa, of course we have. It's the annual Golden Festival. I'm not going to get left out of the fun. It's going to be a very lively one this year. Sounds great, let's do it up. You see his 2 little kids just watching Apu and his crew dancing. And they goes, "What's that?" "That's the numbers from Onigashima. Come on, let's get out of here. We don't want to get gobbled up." And so you see King going, "It would seem the numbers have returned." And Queen's like, "What? They're coming to the party too? I hate those guys. They're such messy drunks." So you see these shadows of these demonic looking creatures. One of them holding this giant spiked club is moving through the mist. And you see the little children that are watching them just shivering. And you have the Fire Festival is going to be the greatest party ever. And Big Mom and Kaido are apparently sharing drinks and they stop fighting now. Like, "That's right, we're celebrating." And Queen's like, "How do they go from a death match to being friends?" Like, "Hey, listen up. What is it?" "The Animal Kingdom Pirates and the Big Mom Pirates are going to be forming a pirate alliance." And they're like, "What?" "And once we've worked together to take over the world, then we can finish our fight to the death." So I guess that was the big reveal of the chapter that everyone was losing their minds over. Alright, I'll go through the chapter in order, I guess, from the beginning with my thoughts. So this occurred to me right when I was saw the 2 swords. And I know this is complete speculation on my part, but if Zoro's going to get Enma, I wonder if Tashigi could possibly be given the Ame no Habakiri as the other sword, because it feels like both, like, because as soon as I saw the white and the black sheath, I'm like, alright, this matches their kind of personalities and like the themes really well. Because I think I've already put out the idea of a theory of, like, Tashigi, if she ever got a power up with Smoke, would be called like the next, like, would be called the White Hunters. And so it'd be kind of interesting to see if that ever played out, but that's just complete random speculation on my part. And then the sword stuff, like, this feels very out of character for Zoro. because there's no reason I would see that he'd be so willing to give the sword back to Wano, even no matter what they say about, it's our national treasure, whatever. The fact that he's going to be like, oh, casually just saying like, oh yeah, I'll replace it. Oh, sure, whatever. This is something I wanted to talk about in general with kind of Wano's, because I was looking back to the early chapters of Logtown for like unrelated stuff to this. But back then, what's his face? The guy from Logtown, the one that gave Zoro the Kitetsu and Yabashiri, gave the whole speech about how the sword chooses the wielder, and how he was sorry for having doubted Zoro as a swordsman. And Oda's been always dropped hints throughout the series of, Zoro being able to like sense the personalities of his swords, and he's like having a connection with them. And even in Wano, we had the whole bit with the chapter of, the legend of Yakimaru, where you have in Ringo the whole idea that, sword wielders are born and die with their sword. And on the field of battle, one of your comrades died, you'd pick up his sword and take it back with you so it could be buried with him. Because, the sword is basically the soul of a samurai. And the fact that Zoro's had Shusui for 2 years, and he's been like, yes, I've been learning how to use this sword, how to master it, and now just because they're asking him to give it back, he's just like, oh, I'll give you a new sword. Zoro's just like, sure, you can have Shusui back, no big deal, yeah, I fought Ryuma for it and everything, but this doesn't matter at all. If you're gonna give me a new sword, it's completely fine. Like, I don't know if Oda's actually setting up for a thing, but like, I'm not, like, I want to say I'm not against the idea of Zoro getting a new sword or as a replacement. That's not what my problem is with this entire bit here. But the fact that he's just getting a new sword and he's just been being given one, rather than, like, working to earn it or like doing something story related to kind of get a new sword, is kind of what I take issue with. But honestly, the rest of Wano's been a disappointment so far, so maybe this is just in line with it, or maybe I'm speaking too early and something else will happen that'll change it. Law having broken out of his cuffs again for like the umpteenth time again, like, I don't really care for any of the situation. Like, the fact that Hawkins basically became a scrub and got knocked out within a few seconds, and like Law is just apparent. I'm assuming that Law probably sliced him up like he sliced up Kinemon and Punk Hazard, and just scattered the pieces everywhere, so it takes a while to assemble him or whatever. I guess we're supposed to assume that whoever the mystery one is, I'm going to say it's Drake for now, came in. So I'm guessing either Drake did what Law did on Punk Hazard and he just gave Law fake Seastone handcuffs so he could swap them out himself and break out. Or maybe he helped Law double team Hawkins and they both took him out. I don't know, but this kind of drains the tension of the idea of like, Law got captured because the Straw Hats didn't actually take Kaido seriously, but doesn't matter now because Law's free anyway. Just, again, does not land, and again, takes away the sense that the Straw Hats are underdogs in any sense of the word in this fight. I don't know what Drake's deal, if that is Drake, I don't know what his deal is. If this is just, like I said earlier, if it's just repayment for what happened on Swallow Island or not. I have to give credit to one of the guys I was talking to on Twitter who did predict that Oda would skip over the 7 days until the Fire Festival and just go right to it. Good for him. I don't really particularly care for it. The only thing I will say is one of my friends on Twitter at Heavenly Hal, his Twitter handle is at Heavenly Halberd. Grant is of the idea that the fact that we're rushing to the fire festival and the setup and everything seems to be going so well for the Straw Hat means, Oda's going to pull the rug out from under us, and it's going to turn out that the raid is going to fail horrifically and the Straw Hats are going to get completely annihilated for underestimating Kaido. I like the idea. I want to believe that's what will happen. I've already theorized that that could be what happens before. I don't know if I actually trust Oda to do that. And again, my problem is not even with the fact that, the Straw Hats will get annihilated, me being like, oh, I don't like that as a story thing. My problem is that even if the Straw Hats do get annihilated, I don't know what the fallout from that is going to be. Because we've consistently, ever since Punk has, we've had this reiteration of, oh, we have to take things seriously. We can't be fooling around anymore. Oh, we're in the new world. Oh, we're fighting the emperors. Logic doesn't apply to them. Blah, 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 etc., etc. And it never feels like the Straw Hats are punching out of their league when they're fighting these battles. Like, it never feels like, they have to be... It doesn't feel like any kind of slip-up will actually result in any kind of consequence that won't be immediately fixed. So, that's my big problem, is not the idea that, the Straw Hats will get annihilated. It's like, even if they do get annihilated, is that going to actually change anything in the story? Or is it just going to be them going, oh no, we got annihilated, okay, plan 2 works out. And then the next arc, they just go back to being, let's do the same thing all over again because we clearly didn't learn anything from the last 10 times this happened. So I don't really care about that. Apart from that, I don't have much else to say. We're getting set up with all the crew and everyone, getting Kaido's crew setting up to come to wherever. The only thing I'll say is the numbers. As soon as I saw them, I thought of awakened Zoan users, because a couple of them look like dinosaurs. And I wonder if some of them are either awakened Zoan users or if some of them are awake. Because I'm wondering if all the horns and everything are just masks like the gifters and everything wear. And I wonder if they're actually, if some of them are Smile awakened Zoan users. Because that would be interesting. I think someone posted one, I saw a spoiler with someone speculating maybe this might be Ancient Giants, but instant hit for me was thinking that these are probably awakened Zoan users. As for the Big Mom Kaido alliance, this feels very, very plot convenient. This feels like Oda deciding he needs a way to up the stakes somehow. And so, he needs to stack the deck against the Straw Hats in a surprise way, and he's going to have Kaido and Big Mom ally. I don't believably buy that they would create an alliance that would last until they took over the world. I do not buy that one iota. I don't care about the whole, it would make sense because they're part of the Rocks Pirates and they have history, whatever. Their personalities would not allow them to cooperatively work together to do anything like this. If their deal was we're going to be allied until we take out Straw Hat Luffy and I'll give him to you and after that we'll do something, I'd be fine. But this I don't buy. And the only other thing I have with this, again related to other ideas I've had, I would be surprised if we don't see the Marines registering this or moving on this until after Wano ends. Because when Shanks and Whitebeard are about to meet, the Marines are literally shitting themselves over the possibility of just 2 of the Emperors meeting. And now if 2 of them are going to actually ally together and the Marines stay completely silent on this, I'm calling bullshit. And yeah, you could always say that, the reason the Marines haven't done anything, blah, 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 is because they don't have intel on Wano because it's cut off from the rest of the island, whatever. It's bullshit because I've speculated about this numerous times before Wano started. that the Marines would not just sit there with the news that two of the emperors are about to meet and do absolutely nothing about it. So I'm curious what it leads to from that perspective. Apart from that, I don't really care for it. And I think that is my thoughts on all of this. Like I said, my read-through video yesterday, I'm probably going to take a break from reacting to OP for a little while. Because Act 2 of Wano still hasn't ended, so I don't know if Oda's going to do an Act 3 or if Act 2 is going to end once the raid is done, or what's going to happen with that. But what I might do is, depending, I might read the chapter from now on, and if there's something I feel like is worth commenting on, then I might do just a review video. But I think for the next little while, I'm not going to do I'm not going to do any reactions to it, because honestly, I am not feeling Wano at all so far. I find it so hard to believe that this arc has been half the length of Dressrosa, and it feels a lot longer and it feels a lot more draggy than Dressrosa does. So I don't know if that means Wano is going to be around the same length as Dressrosa. I don't know if this means we've reached about the halfway point or whatever. But like I said, yeah, probably, like, unless there's something worth reviewing or talking about, I'm probably not going to do any of these videos for a little while, just to give myself a break from this, and it'll give me time to kind of focus on my read-throughs and other stuff. And again, if there's anything in this video you disagree with, drop a comment and let me know. I'll be happy to discuss and talk about my feelings on it. Until next time, this is Ash. Talk to you later.